Whenever I'm down, you carry me away. You turn my whole life around just with what you say. Whenever I'm scared, you make... Welcome, and on today's show, it's time for part 2 of the greatest Casios under £100. But first, today's shot comes from Wrist XXL. Well, what a statement beater we've got here. The G-Shock GD-X6900HD. This is a very bold but beautiful looking watch, and it takes a certain type of person to pull this off. I wonder if he's that type. Anyway, beautiful watch, my friend, and thank you so much for tagging me in. If you'd like to be on the next Casio corner, all you gotta do, find me on Instagram here and tag me in on one of your Casio posts. Who knows? Next time, the star of the show could be you. Yeah, what a show I've got for you today. Loads of Casios and loads of fun. And you watch out. Well, what a treat I've got for your eyes today. Yes, it's a Casio F91W, but it looks a little different, doesn't it? That is because this watch has been modified by the fantastic guys at PURACUSTOMS. Yes, we can all have a £10 digital beauty, but the guys at PURACUSTOMS can modify your watch and make it very personal to you. This is what they call the Pepsi look. And they have modded this by taking away the original polarizer of the screen and replaced it with a dual polarizer, the blue and the red, filled the watch with silicone oil, which hugely increases its water resistance, and it just looks awesome. Please take a look at their Instagram. They modify many Casio beauties and they can make them truly unique to you. What a beautiful modified digital stunner. Right, so a few weeks ago I got to showcase all of my Casio watches. There was a running theme, all had amazing value for money, but were either references from watches you could actually buy in the late 80s and 90s, such as the CA53W, my all-time favourite digital watch. They were all well under £100, but they all had like a vintagey kind of vibe to them. Well, at the end of that show, I asked you guys if you had any recommendations of more Casios I could get, because they are like Pringles, you know.
Well, I have to say I was absolutely swamped with suggestions.
But I've taken a punt on a few new Casios, a little bit out of my comfort zone in terms of size, but they all have a unique look and very good value for money. In fact, all of the watches today I paid no more than £40 for, so well under the £100 mark. Now, at the end of the 8 watches that I've got to show you, like part 1, I'm going to do the Casio Awards. Yeah. The fun part, I'm also going to give you a bonus today, as I've got 5 brand new, old stock, discontinued Casios I want to show off too. All the brand new watches I'm showing off today, you can buy in the descriptions below. They are affiliate links, meaning you don't pay any more, but I get a nice little slice. Probably 0.002 pence. Let's get down to it, shall we? Are you Casio ready? Let's go. Now, 2 things before we start. Yes, I know you are very jealous about the cabinet I showed in the intro. Oh, it is a 1990s display case with built-in lights, and it's double-sided and it rotates. I think it's absolutely wonderful. I've already been given a lot of compliments. Can you guess what the wife said?
I hate it. It looks like an ugly glorified fridge.
Well, the beauty is in the eye of the beholder. One more thing, straight from Amazon, I have the randomizer button. Now, in the part 1 show, I reviewed all the watches in price order, from lowest first, but I thought, no, let's just random it. So the prices will be varied and not in any order. Are we ready for the randomizer? Is it gonna work? Oh yes, look at that! Good, where's it gonna stop? Nobody knows. Ah, here we go, the A171WE. On Amazon right now, this costs £34, and I was really attracted to it because it was retro, you know? It has that old Casiotron vibe to it. You don't often see a circular case for a digital watch, and I really love how the circular bezel marries with that squared off case. This is a plastic resin case with a chrome colouring to it, but it does have a stainless steel, pull your hairs out, folded link bracelet. I really do love the balance and the design of this face. I love that centered Casio logo at the top. It reminds me of the watches in my collection like the A158 and the F91. Now I say fondly that it reminds me of an F91. Unfortunately, the module is the same as the F91, and you can tell it is by pushing that backlight. Oh God, that is awful. Now a modern reissued watch from Casio should not have that crappy backlight in. Any reissue watch nowadays should be using the electroluminescent backlight like the one in the A168.
This is a total schoolboy error.
As I'm sure it wouldn't have costed a lot to have upped that module. We have the time, we have an alarm, we have a stopwatch. You can also change this watch from 12 to 24 hours. This watch says water resist. Usually if this watch is proper water resistant, it would have a number on there like 50 or 200 meters. This just says water resist, so I imagine it's only 30 meters. On my 6.5-inch wrist though, and this watch looks really good. In comparison with the F91, it is beefed up and it will fit a lot more wrists. A decent digital watch that may be overpriced by £5 to £10, but it will be a lovely retro addition to my collection. So on to the next one. Oh, where's it gonna go? Ah yes, the Casio A100.
The Ripley watch.
Yes, I did a review of this watch a couple of weeks ago. This one only just came out, so it's a little bit pricey for what it is, but it has some unique features that none of my other Casios have. The main thing being, there are no buttons on the sides of the case. Operating this watch is all done by the front. The other unusual thing is, there are no words or markings on the case. So how the hell are you supposed to operate this thing? Well, if you turn the watch round, Casio gives you a little instruction manual on what these buttons do. It has the same functions as an F91. You've got your alarm, your stopwatch, and you've got a backlight that has to be said is an upgrade from the F91. Again, it's a plastic chrome case. These blingy numbers do scratch quite easily, but the whole design of it is so straight out of the 80s. It's awesome. And that's going to make it very trendy, I think. I really do love the bracelet. Again, it gives those sci-fi retro vibes. I bought this for £40 from the Casio store. Possibly for the functions it gives you, it's £10 overpriced. This is water resistant, but it doesn't tell you the number, which means probably it's 30 meters. But I think it's a cool watch to add to your collection. Now, a big thank you to subscriber Ben for sending me the two other color variants that you can get with this watch. The blingy gold one and the graphite looking, can't see very well, industrial sort of style one. After seeing all three of these watches, I think I do prefer the graphite one. I just wish it had a regular traditional screen on it.
Because you can't see the time for sugar. Sorry to bother you. Could you just click that like button, please? It really helps the channel. Thank you.
Yeah, big fan of that alien watch, I must admit. Very retro. Are you ready? Oh, where's it going? Oh yes, the AQ-230. Yes, we have our first Annie Digi. The dual timing son of a gun. Now a watch like this was worn by Eddie Murphy in Beverly Hills Cop. So that sort of made me want it, but this is your true sort of granddad's watch, isn't it? You can imagine granddads around the world wearing this watch. At only £22.50, this does pack a lot of punch to it. So it's a lovely looking dressy style dial, isn't it? Very simple, baton hands, and below we have that little slit of a digital screen. It's that tank shape, which whenever I see a Casio or a Seiko like that, I think of old men.
You know, in their 80s, you know, not you, don't worry about it.
It's very slim, which is what I like. The case again is in this chrome plastic with a brushed stainless steel bracelet. This does say water resist, but I imagine only to 30 meters. The cool thing about this watch is you've got yourself a bargain GMT. Yes, the analog hands are not slaved to the digital screen. You can have a different time on one. But not only that, this has a dual time mode. So there's a potential of 3 different times you can have on this watch. And if you're a budget jet setter, this one's for you. So the first mode shows you the day, the date, and the month. Next mode is your alarm. Yes, this has an alarm. The next function is a dual time. And the last function, the stopwatch. The buttons are very tiny, and it's the first time I sort of hurt my fingers, even my dainty ones, you know. It's not satisfying to operate this. Also, you need a little sharp pencil nib or a spring bar removal tool to change the analog time. I've got to say it fits really nicely on my wrist. Rectangular watches always look bigger than the dimensions show, but I can easily pull this one off. The W-217H. In all aspects, this is the F91 beefed up. Do like the contrast of this satinized silver look on the case. It is resin again. I can see this appealing to the bigger wrists out there. Negative for me is the negative display, but because the screen is so darn big, it sort of makes it more legible than usual. You got your alarm, your stopwatch, the same functions as an F91W. You do have quite a cool backlight. It's not massively strong, 50 meters water resistant. The thing I don't like though is that absolutely huge strap. Casio were obviously thinking the Hulk. If ever he was in the market to buying a digital beta, they would simply supply him with this. It's much longer than a usual strap on both ends, and the feel of that resin strap just feels a bit cheap to me. That being said, I do love that contrast of the case to the black strap. On my wrist, I can still pull this off, and it actually looks pretty cool. And for £13.25,
it's a bargain.
Where's it going? Nobody knows. Oh, here we are, the DW-291H. One word.
Woof.
I mean, if you thought my DW-290 was big,
You ain't seen nothing yet, baby.
this is probably the biggest Casio I have ever had to hold in person. The style of it, the design is very reminiscent to my 290, and I love the unique look. Those raised plastic pushers is one of the key features here. Big though, aren't they going to be easy to operate? This watch looks and feels like a G-Shock for sure. We've got the 200 meters of water resistance, and that secure, tough against the case resin strap. Now, as you can see, this has a 10-year battery, which is fantastic. All the others today will give you about 5 to 7 years, so that's a bonus. I love the screen. It's quite green, but it doesn't have to make the markers and numbers pop. I really like that digital clock in the top right corner. The only trouble is it's tiny, and you have to get your eyes quite close to be able to see it.
Might need a magnifying glass.
First mode, we get a world time. You can program in 3 to look at straight away by using the bottom right pusher. Second mode is the alarm, and we can have 5 alarms. Then it's the countdown timer, then the stopwatch. So value for money, this is right up there. It's only £34. It feels like a G-Shock. The only thing is, it's huge. I feel like with digital watches, you can tend to get away with sizes. And you know what? I think no, I haven't pulled it off at all. It looks flipping big, doesn't it?
This watch is going to be only for proper men with proper wrists.
God, I wish I had bigger wrists, you know. Anyway, moving on. Ah yes, the B640W. Now I've got to admit, I've slightly fallen for this watch. It didn't look much in the pictures. The PVD coated stainless steel bracelet looked completely different to the case, but up in person, in the metal, it looks awesome. This satinized matte finish on the black resin case of this watch is brilliant. It feels more expensive. I love the case shape. Also love those ergonomic pushers. They are so easy to push in, and because of the case shape, the buttons stick outwards. Quite a sporty look. Not many colors on this watch, and look at that screen. I think that's the clearest looking screen I've ever had. This is how new watches should be done, Casio. So you have an alarm, a countdown timer, which still does display the time in the top right corner, do like that, as well as a stopwatch, and you have an adjust button that is recessed into the case in the top left. The other thing that is superb about this watch is the backlight. Not only do you have an LED amber light going left, you have it coming from the right, so you get equal illumination illumination. Like all of these Casios today, you have a stainless steel case back. It is on the smaller size, but for anyone looking for a true upgrade of their F91Ws, this is the puppy. Trust me.
Take two.
Let's see a little more originality, shall we? Yeah, do like that one. Two more to go and we have the W-86. Again, I see this as a really good upgrade from the F91. The case is resin, but slightly beefed in its dimensions. The colours don't scream 80s to me like the older ones, but it's very well designed.
More sort of early 90s.
As you can probably tell, the main feature of this watch is the illuminator, or electroluminescence. So we might as well have a look at that first. And that is magnificent. Not only is it so bright, you can keep your finger on this light and it'll stay on for as long as you want. This watch just costs $16.99 and I'd happily pay that just for the backlight. The modes are just like the F91. You've got your alarm, your stopwatch, and then back to the time mode where you can change the time. It's 50 meters water resistant, which is lovely. Also a big plus is the strap. Very soft resin. I love the vents at the start. It just looks very sporty. $16.99? Yeah, I'm a fan. Yeah. So this is the last one. I feel a little bit emotional, a little bit sad. It's the last time I will be pushing the button, but I'm pretty sure there'll be a Casio Part 3 anyway. Here we go. Yes! Where's it stop? Nobody knows. Ah, yes, the WS-1200H. Now, if you've got a watch with a strap that's got a dual buckle, you know it means business.
Fishing business.
This is the watch I really wanted to get from the last Casio show. On very first inspection, it does have that G-Shock vibe to it, doesn't it? We've got a 10-year battery life, which is fantastic, and it's water resistant for 100 meters, which is pretty good because it may go in the water a bit. I got the green one. I love the tactical look to this thing. It really does mean business, doesn't it? So much text on this thing. So we can see that illuminator logo. We can also see 3 alarms. Below that water resistant logo, in that little circular screen, we have a moon phase. But cleverest of all, this watch tells you when it's the ideal time to do some fishing. Absolutely crazy, but the watch uses the time, date, and the home settings to calculate the moon phase and the fishing indicator. It's awesome. For £39, oh, this is worth a punt, isn't it? So the first mode is the moon phase and the fishing indicator. The second mode is the stopwatch, but take a look at the stopwatch. All the fishies move. It's awesome. Next mode is a countdown timer. Then we have an alarm, 3 alarms, then a dual time. Even though the resin strap is quite stiff, the texture of it is cool. I've never had a double buckle before. And the whole thing just looks really well made. It fits like a G-Shock does, so it's a little bit big, but I really do like it. Yes, the fishing gear part is a novelty, but you can't find this on any other Casio.
Got my rod, ready to fish? Come on, show me. Oh, well, there's no fish at the minute. Let me check. Tomorrow.
Here it is, my wife's first impressions of all 8 watches. Looks like an American sewer lid. Don't like it. Bit Christmas crackery, this one. This one's a watch that you would see on a submarine. Reminds me of a gas mask. Don't like it. This is a granddad's watch. I don't like it. It's not too messy. I quite like it. Don't hate it. Not too busy, but looks like a school calculator. This one's very retro, but ugly. So, very insightful, as always, my wife. There you go. Well, welcome everyone to the Casio Awards. Spared no expense. Got a suit on as well. Are we ready? Let's get into it. And the winner is the DW-291H. 1, because it is absolutely huge, but 2, the digital screen is that greeny colour and it just makes the numbers pop out a little bit more. Well, for me, I'm going to give it to two watches. One, the W-86, so comfortable on the wrist, does the basics but does it well, and that backlight is beautiful. And at $16.99, that's pretty damn good. Second mention must go to the fishing gear. You've got a moon phase, you can see when you're going to fish. It's got a dual time, plus it's 100 meters water resistant, and I think that's bang for buck. I've mentioned it before, but it's got to go to the W-86 again. It has that amazing electroluminescence, plus you can hold that light down for as long as you want. Well, I think it's got to go to the A100. The design is very comfortable, and it reminds me of the 80s. Well, that has to go to the W-86 again. There's enough vents in there to make it very sporty and to stop your wrist from sweating. Very supple resin rubber. What watch you'd wear where the kids would think you are cool? Well, I think it's got to go to the A100. It looks geeky, nerdy, and the young'uns will lap it up. Well, I think it's got to go to the two watches that look like G-Shocks, the fishing gear and the DW-291H. The latter does have 200 meters of water resistance and is built like a brick house. The fishing gear, well, it has that aesthetic look of a G-Shock, and it's also a tough looking boy. Well, it has to go to the B640W. This one has stolen my heart. Great looking design, great looking case, monochromatic colour scheme, great bracelet, amazingly legible, looks HD, great backlight, £35. Take my money, thank you, Sam. Okay, that's the new watches. Let me talk to you about some watches I bought not long ago. Yes, a little shop round the back of nowhere that sells a lot of digital watches. So since 2000, this shop has had a lot of old stock still for sale. And it wasn't until I looked closer I realised, hang on, there's some discontinued Casios here. Now, the lovely lady at the shop obviously doesn't do her research because the prices of these watches were the same as when they first came out. Some of these watches used were going for at least 3 times the price tag on eBay. I thought I'd snap a few up to show off to you guys.
Get your watch out.
Most of us are used to our Casios coming in this box, but not these ones. Let's start with the AQ-150, the watch my wife calls the Robocop head. Do you know what? I can see a similarity there. Now, this watch is straight out of the early 90s, very dated, but it's cool, isn't it? It's an Ani-Digi affair, and this is dual modular. So there are 2 modules powering the analog display and the digital one. I love the screws on the front of the case. Looks very industrial, doesn't it? And futuristic, but the whole case shape is cool. I love the matte finish to the plastic as well, and the 2 tones. We've got a traditional crown at 3 o'clock, which operates the dial, and the mode button on the bottom left. It's a great push button deploying clasp on a very nice but folded link bracelet. Very rattly. Have a listen. Rattle me this. But take a look at this backlight. How cool is that? Box and papers. I paid £24 for this. Next one, let me show you the Film Watch. An absolute stunning rectangular tank-shaped watch. First came out in 1985 and was discontinued in the 90s. Brand new old stock. I've got the FS-04. Again, it's an Ani-Digi. It's called Film Watch because of the film technology Casio were using at the time to make the modules in them absolutely thin. Look how thin that is. 6 mils, I think. To operate the handset, you need to do the same as the AQ watch, little spring bar removal tool. We've got our alarm, dual time, stopwatch, not a great illuminator, but it's such a unique looking watch, isn't it? I really do love the bracelet. These watches go for about £100 used now. I paid 28. Next up, the LDF-50, the Pop Tone watch. This thing came out in the late 90s, discontinued it in the early 2000s. I think it was marketed mainly for ladies, and it was marketed as a sporty digital watch. I do love its unique look. Again, it's that rectangle shape. Buttons are all on the front, just like the A100. The digital screen is really cool, as the numbers are in blue. We've got an alarm, a stopwatch, and a dual time. It's different, isn't it? And I think that's that's why I was attracted to this watch, because how different it looked compared to the others I saw. This cost me £24. The next one is a watch I call the Casio Breitling, because it looks a little bit like a Breitling Aerospace, doesn't it? The MTP-4700. What an absolute stunner of a watch. This time the case is stainless steel. We've got a proper solid stainless steel bracelet, hollow end links. It's a decent pressed clasp. It's not a screw-in crown, but we do have a screw-in case back. It's 50 meters water resistant. It has a friction bezel. I love the deep blue sunburst dial. I am a sucker for blue. We've got two negative displays inside that traditional looking dial. We've got alarm, we've got stopwatch, we've got a countdown timer, and we've got a dual time, and it is a world time. Haven't completely got my head around how to operate this watch yet, but I really do like it. Again, this is discontinued. I paid £35 for this, and I think it was very worth it. And on to the final watch. This is probably my favourite of the bunch. The W-10 football timer. I'm a football fan. I played a lot of football when I was young. Now, even though I didn't have this watch as a kid, had I known about it,
I would have had 7 of them.
the colours are so late 80s, early 90s. The case shape as well as the buttons are early 90s. The reason why it's called a football timer is you press the mode once and it takes you to a countdown 45 minutes, which is the length of a half of a football game. Soccer for you US folk. Anyway, second mode is the stopwatch, then we have an alarm, and then back to the home screen. When you go to the stopwatch, I love the animation. It's just a very fun, simple digital watch that I will treasure now forever and a day. Used, these are going for £100. This is brand new. I paid $19.99 for it. So there you go, what a Casio show I had for you today. We saw some new ones, some old ones, good backlights and shit backlights. Some appropriate sized for me, others bloody huge. I really want to do a part 3 of this Casio collection, so it's up to you to give me your suggestions of the best bang for buck, under £50 Casio watches that are out there right now. Will the collecting of Casios ever stop? No. From me, the Mad Watch Collector, I'll see you in a tick, 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 a tick.
Every little second, every hour, every minute of the day. Always end up